Hey, I'm the industry.
Hey yo, I'm the academia.
I'm all those businesses that tend on technology.
Whatever. And I'm all those universities, colleges, and vocational training.
I represent the small, medium, and large enterprises that either develop, deploy, or use IT solutions to drive Pakistan's entire economy.
I represent the 90 million youth who are in the education system and all those who you aren't capitalizing on.
Did you say 90 million?
We've got power in numbers and you don't know what to do with us.
We're always looking for fresh grads. How come we can't even find one?
Even if you're looking hard enough, you're not looking long enough or in the right places. You lose interest in even investing in us.
But we don't know who you are. Eh?
Huh?
Wait a second, are we?
Saying the same thing? Yes, yes.
Campus Conversations. Bridging the gap. Log on to www.ciopakistan.com for more details.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of Campus Conversations with me, Shafaq Tariq. And today we have Mr. Kamran Meer, who's the CISO at HBL and who was a part of CIO Campus Conversations at PAF Gate.
We are one of the largest banks in the country and we are in the process of transformation, especially the technology-led transformation. So we are also very excited about talking to people through the Campus Conversation program because we have a real need for good talent to come in and work in our industry.
When you hire people, what do you look in them?
What we are seeing in the market is that there's a variety of IT or computer related degrees. So there's you can see different. You can look at different flavors. There's a business management plus IT. There's a pure IT. There's computer science. There's computer engineering. But to be honest, at a bachelor's level, we really don't look so much at the course content of the program that students have gone through. We do look for the university or college which people are coming from, but we are not very elitist. At the end of the day, we look for smart people. Now, one of the things we have found amongst when we talk to students and prospective employees, they think that if they have done certain courses, then they will qualify for certain jobs and not for others. But that's not how we look at fresh graduates, because for us a fresh graduate is a person who understands generally about technology and is smart and has a good brain and can be groomed.
How do you judge a person's smartness?
GPA does not play a huge role. Sitting in examinations, it's just like one-day cricket. You can be the best team in the world, but you can lose on a particular day. Doesn't mean that you're not a good cricketer anymore. So we don't emphasize too much on GPAs, but there's a minimum criteria. You must get some kind of a minimum. HR standards are there, but we don't penalize people for getting slightly lower. So we won't say you must have a 4.0 or a 3.8. And again, it's not the only criteria. Putting them through an interview process where they meet at least 4 or 5 experienced staff members. That's one way to judge a person's capability, because when 4 or 5 people will talk to a candidate in a fairly structured manner, now it doesn't mean you're just having a chat with them over coffee or anything. So in a structured interview, you should always try to figure out what the person did when faced with challenges. Right. And if you can figure out what they did when they were faced with a challenge, whether they showed leadership, whether they showed followership. By the way, followership is very important as well, because it's not all about leadership. You need good followers as well. Otherwise, leaders won't have any followers to work with. So whatever kind of slot you're filling, in fact, what we've noticed is that people who are extremely academic oriented, they often don't do well in their careers because they can't work with people. You can't just be a loner who works with books. You have to work with people, right, regardless of in the industry it's all about people.
So in order to excel in a career, what you mean to say is that one should be a good leader and a good follower as well?
No, you can either be a good leader or you can be a good follower.
Okay.
You don't have to be both. You can be one of two and you can be in the middle as well.
The main focus is just on your degree and the education that's provided to you. Maybe your schooling and your college background was really good, but the university that you went to, they did not focus much on the extracurricular activities. So when those kids, when they go out there in the industry or when they go out to look for jobs, I'm sure the schooling and unki jo mentoring school mein hui thi, that's all gone down the drain, because 4 years of university life, of professional life, it actually changes you.
In our country, One of the biggest gaps that is holding back talent from developing to its level of excellence is that at the school and college, which is pre-university days, the students are not getting mentored. And I actually differ with you, nothing goes down the drain. If you spend 4 years in college, you are not going to forget what you learned in school. In fact, you actually don't learn anything in school, you develop yourself in school. You develop certain habits of thinking and certain habits of looking at the world. But based upon that, when you go to college, you develop secondary influences. Now you don't forget that. Those become your habits in second nature. So when you come out of school and enter university, you actually come with a certain personality, which is called your habit, second nature, your personality, your outlook, whatever it is. And you've picked that up over the 16 years of your life before that, or 18 years, whatever it is. Now in college, you are learning some subjects about the real world. So you're learning about, so that's okay, fine. I don't think you actually forget anything. Similarly, when you come to the workplace and you have to interact with so many people, your schooling is what helps you get through.
Right.
Now this 4-year period of university that you go through, you really not your personality is completely developed.
Yeah.
By the time you're 15 or 14, you're completely developed. You just learn a few things more, and you then decide what I like. So if you like engineering or you like medicine, blah blah, those kind of things.
Right.
So the problem of mentoring now is very important, because what university students have to be made to understand is exactly what I explained to you here, is they need to be told how do they evaluate themselves now.
Right.
Because when you've gone through school and everything, you've come into college, you have never thought about yourself.
Right.
So mentors and counselors have, on the one hand, they have to make people analyze what are their own strengths and weaknesses. Somebody should say, look, I'm like a counselor, I'll guide you through and help you understand what you do well and what you don't do so well. I mean, how many times has anybody in our colleges sat down with students and said, let me tell you, let me have a group session.
Hardly.
To close this conversation, I would simply say that counseling and mentoring is absent today. It needs to be brought in, and the counselors themselves should be trained people who understand how to develop talent. Talent development is not about just teaching them programming, for God's sake. It's not about programming. It's about how you will use programming to develop a product which somebody is going to go and sell and the company is going to make money. Or, if you're a non-profit organization, you're going to make a difference on the social scene. But that's what it's all about. Technology for itself is nothing. Technology has to be used for the benefit of something else. It's either a business objective or it's a social objective. It has to go in that direction. That can only happen when the people understand what they like to do. They understand themselves, and counselors should help them do that. And then counselors should then become the bridge between the students and the organizations who are looking to hire people. So that's the gap. I think counseling and mentoring has to happen at schooling level, not even at the university level. University should also happen, but it also has to happen when you're in the final years of your school.
What important role does the final year project play when you have to enter the field?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't matter.
Seriously?
I think you should have as much fun as you can in university, because that's
the only
time.
That's a very wrong message that you give.
No, it's not a wrong message, because if you don't enjoy, figure out what you like to do.
Okay.
Figure out what you like to do. By the time you pick up your project, you should know what project you want to work on. Because if you like what you're doing, then you will excel.
Okay.
When they come into the organization, the final year project can be related to the kind of job they're doing, but it doesn't really matter. We don't look at the coursework that students have taken, and we don't look at the projects. You can work, and you've got a technology degree, fine, that's good. We want you to have a degree in technology, some kind of technology. After that, whether you worked on a communications project or an operating system or a software development, all areas are open. If the prerequisite is to have a basic understanding of technology.
Okay.
You can be placed in any area.
Okay. So, what role does internship play when you're looking for a job? Is it, as many universities have that, it's mandatory to have a 6-week internship. So if a person has interned at several places in maybe different fields, maybe once in networking, once in software development side, once in database, so would that actually make his resume very good for a job?
No, a 6 weeks internship will just give that person more experience of the real world.
Okay.
It's very important that when people come, they know what the real world is like, because students have no clue, unfortunately. When I say the real world, I mean the real world of the working organizations and how the business operates and the industry.
Right.
Students have no clue, because there is a huge yawning gap between industry and academia in our country, and it's not being bridged proactively.
So who's at fault? Is it the academia's fault, or the organizations are not reaching to the academia?
It's probably both.
Both together?
It's both. Organizations need to take social responsibility. I mean, this is almost social
This
responsibility.
is almost CSR to an extent, is it? Corporate social responsibility?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It is almost a social responsibility that
Right.
you should develop talent in your community, regardless of whether those people are going to come and work for you.
Okay.
Regardless, you shouldn't say, no, I will only put funding into this university if they guarantee to me that they will give me the top 20 graduates to work for me for the first 2 years of those lives. That is not fair on anyone, because that's against the principles of a free market.
Okay.
We should simply say that as a socially responsible organization, we will have a budget and put resources to send people into academia. And it's actually going to help them, because not only will you be able to locate students ahead of time, you'll create an impression in the minds of students. And if you have problems which you cannot solve yourself, you can actually give those problems to the academia as research projects. So it can also work as a business benefit for you. I'm at a position now where I can influence. I have a lot of problems to solve where I work, and I just
So
not
would you
able
like
to.
to get some interns or maybe some
Yes,
kids from...
yes, and I've made my outreach. I've gone out and talked with students and stuff, and so the process has started.
Okay, okay.
And our bank has actually started an internship program this year. Again, because I was pushing the management to actually, because there was no concept of internships in our bank, and I actually pushed my management, so they started this year.
So what is your internship program all about?
My own style is that you should throw people in the deep and let them learn, because that's the best way to learn.
Okay.
A lot of times managers don't delegate, and they think that a student he may screw up a project. But I take that kind of risk. I let them screw up projects, because if you screw up once, you will learn so much out of it that your next 4 projects will be excellent. So since the only thing they can do is screw up, because then they'll be gone in 6 weeks. So I'm using it as a playground to experiment.
Right.
And if those students come back and work for me, I'm lucky. And if they don't, that's also fine. They will go somewhere else and make that organization proud.
Right.
So it's social responsibility that if I develop 20 people in a year and 2 come back and work for me, I will still benefit.
All right.
So we throw difficult projects at them.
All right. So anyone who's coming next to him should be ready for a very tough project, and don't run away.
Why not? Why not? I mean, that's all the fun,
Right.
You learn when you do difficult things.
Right. When it's easy, so you know it. I mean, it's always good to learn.
Yeah.
Right. So anything in the end that you'd like to add? Any tips and tricks, or anything about a career in technology?
Yeah. I think one of the insecurities that people have, they want to land a job when they graduate. Okay, that's fine, nothing wrong with it, perfectly understandable. I did too. Most of the technology companies in our country are looking for very specific skills, very, very specific skills coming out of fresh graduates, because fresh graduates are the cheapest resource you can hire. So unfortunately, our industry, most of our industry, I mean there are exceptions, but most of our industry leaders think that a fresh graduate, since he or she is extremely cheap to hire, is only good for me if he or she brings some skill with them. So for example, if I do development in .NET, then if you've done .NET projects in college, then you're really good for me. But since you're a fresh graduate, I'll hire you cheap. Now that mentality is creating a problem, because now everybody in those 4 years of their university are trying to learn .NET. That's it. But when 4 years later .NET will go out the window, something else will take its place, those students will be out of their jobs.
Right.
So .NET you can learn, but that should not be the only thing you learn, because when you graduate, that's the job you were looking at. But when that industry is gone, what else are you going to do? They were teaching you how to do call center business. They were teaching you how to develop websites, HTTP, and now those people who learned nothing except how to manage a call center or how to run a call center or HTTP or .NET, now they're looking for something else to do. So I think the specialist certifications should happen after you've graduated.
Okay.
Even if you take those certifications during your during the 4 years of your degree, treat them as specialist certifications. It's a particular trade that you know.
Okay.
But your general understanding of technology should always be developed, and you should continue to develop that as you go, because technology will change every 3 years. It's not going to be the same. What you learned in college is not going to be the same when the day you graduate.
Yeah.
So in technology, what you have to learn in college is how to learn technology. Technology is not something that's going to stay static.
Yeah.
So you can't say I learned this in college. I mean, if 20 years ago I was in college, I learned Zlog 8080. Who does Zlog 8080 today? No one. Nobody understands. I mean, that's the first chip that went into the Microsoft PC.
Yeah.
And I would have said, oh, but Microsoft PC changed after 3 years.
Yeah.
In fact, in those days, there was no Microsoft, there was an IBM PC. There was no Microsoft in those days. Microsoft was just a small company in a garage somewhere. IBM PC was everything. So I'm giving the example. So Google will not be there in 10 years, maybe. It will be it'll be a different company. It will be doing different things. So learn how to learn technology as you advance in your career. So learn how to learn. Rather than just learn is the message I would give in college.
All right, perfect. And this brings us to the end of this episode of Campus Conversations. This is Shafaq Tariq with Mr. Kamran Meer signing out.